Meet your double and you're already in trouble. Gothic fiction knows this and it won't let you forget it. The doppelganger isn't a gimmick or an evil twin cliche, it's the genre's sharpest tool for cutting into identity, conscience, and the dark urges we pretend we don't have. Today, we're tracking the double from folklore to the Victorian imagination, through the 19th century's most unsettling books, and into the themes that make this trope indispensable to Gothic horror. The Egyptians spoke of the Ka, a spirit twin. Norse tradition has the vardøger, a ghostly forerunner that arrives before you do. So, when late 18th century writers start raiding folklore, the double is already loaded with dread. English speakers even used fetch in the 1700s to mean an apparition of someone still alive. Then in 1796, the German writer Jean-Paul coins a new word in his novel Siebenkäs, doppelgänger, literally double walker. He describes people who see themselves. In that book, a look-alike companion slides toward hallucinated alter ego. That's the fuse being lit. And this fear wasn't just literary. Dante Gabriel Rossetti paints how they met themselves around 1864. Two lovers in a moonlit wood, stunned as their doubles appear, a bad omen in oil. He called it his bogie drawing. That nickname says everything about how the Victorian mind loved this chill down the spine. By the 19th century, the Gothic turns inward. Early Gothic waved skeletons and cursed castles at us. The Victorians ask a nastier question. What if the haunted castle is the human mind? Enter the double. It walks like a ghost, but it lives inside you. Let's hit the great cases. James Hogg's The Private Memoirs and Confessions of a Justified Sinner from 1824. In Calvinist Scotland, Robert Ringham meets Gilmartin, a chameleon who can wear Robert's own face. Gilmartin whispers theological poison and pushes Robert into murder, all while claiming righteousness. Devil or delusion, Hogg keeps you unsure. Either way, Gilmartin is Robert's split self given legs, fragmented identity, moral duality, and a conscience on sabbatical. E.T.A. Hoffmann does chaos beautifully in The Devil's Elixirs. A monk drinks cursed booze, then runs into his exact double, a roaming alibi for sins he hasn't committed yet, and a magnet for every crime the novel can throw at him. Identity collapses, guilt ricochets, and while we're with Hoffmann, yes, der Sandman belongs in this lineage. It's a clinic in the uncanny, doubles of fathers, doubles of lovers, doubled perceptions, eyes, automata, and misrecognition, pure doppelganger energy. Edgar Allan Poe's William Wilson. A man is hounded through life by someone who shares his name, age, and face. That second, Wilson appears at decisive, ugly moments to block vice and expose fraud. When our narrator finally stabs his pursuer, he sees himself in the mirror. He hasn't slain an enemy, he's silenced his conscience. Poe doesn't tell you if the twin is real. He doesn't need to. Charlotte Brontë brings the double into the drawing room in Jane Eyre. Bertha Mason, the mad woman in the attic, isn't a supernatural twin. She's the shadow Jane can't publicly own. Rage, desire, fury at confinement. Jane, the careful governess, survives by restraint. Bertha burns down the house. That pairing is Bronte's critique of Victorian gender roles. Repress passion, and it comes back, barefoot and on fire. Charlotte Perkins Gilman perfects the psychological version in The Yellow Wallpaper. A woman on the rest cure stares at hideous wallpaper until she sees a figure trapped behind the pattern. That creeping woman is the narrator's double, the self caged by medical and marital control. By the end, she identifies with the figure she imagined and crawls free, at terrible cost. Robert Louis Stevenson's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know the trick, but read it again for the mechanics. Jekyll isolates his appetites and gives them a body named Hyde. He thinks he can keep Hyde contained. Hyde grows stronger. When you starve the shadow, it doesn't die. It bides its time. Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. The portrait is the double. Dorian's body stays beautiful. The canvas rots because it wears his sins. One self for society, one self in the attic. Slice the painting and you slice your own heart. It's moral math even decadence can't evade. We could keep going. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein turns the creature into Victor's disowned self. The ambition, the rage, the loneliness he manufactures and then refuses to recognize. Joseph Conrad's The Secret Sharer puts a fugitive on a captain's ship, a human mirror that forces a decision about leadership and guilt. The point is consistent. The double is the story's engine, not its garnish. Why does this trope hit so hard? 3 reasons. First, it externalizes inner conflict. The double makes a private war visible. Jekyll offloads desire onto Hyde. Dorian offloads corruption onto the portrait. Poe's Wilson turns conscience into a person who can stare you down. In an era before modern psychology had the vocabulary, fiction builds a stage where the self can fight itself. Second, the uncanny. Seeing yourself out of place and out of control wrecks the idea that identity is singular and stable. That is a primal fear. Folklore already taught us that meeting your double means one of you is marked for death. The best Gothic tales play chicken with that omen. Third, repression. Victorian society worships composure, privacy, restraint. Doubles weaponize the secret self. Bertha is the locked-away passion. Hyde is the bottle of appetites cracked open by science. The double carries the blame and the thrill, but the original pays the bill. And behind it all sits a modern anxiety. The self is complicated, fractured, performative. The Enlightenment loved the unified subject. Rational and in control. The doppelganger laughs at that. Invulnerable and in control. Tell that to Jekyll in his last letter. The Gothic double says the self is porous and combustible. Separate your halves and they will devour each other. Midway check, think about Rossetti's lovers seeing their twins under the trees. Why does that image still sting? Because the double isn't only a horror, it's a truth. You have a face you show and a face you hide. The Gothic just paints the hidden one where everyone can see it. Gothic romance updates Jane Eyre through Rebecca. The second Mrs. De Winter lives under the spell of a dead first wife, a ghostly rival identity that shapes her every move. Modern cinema runs with psychological doubles. Black Swan turns perfectionism into a murderous mirror, and Us unleashes entire shadow selves with scissors. Even eco-horror mutates the trope. Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation fills a landscape with refracted, duplicated life, human selves blurred and rewritten by an alien logic. Different mediums, same itch. Who is the other me, and what happens when it steps out of the dark? So where does this leave us? With a very simple Gothic lesson, you are double. The doppelganger matters because it lets writers personify what we refuse to face. Our appetites, our shame, our terror of losing control. The horror hits because the mirror looks back. And the best Gothic, from Hogg and Hoffmann through Brontë, Poe, Stevenson, and Wilde, forces that recognition with style and cruelty. Your turn. Which doppelganger got under your skin first? Hyde, The Portrait, Bertha, William Wilson, Olympia, or someone I didn't mention? And do you read these doubles as supernatural troublemakers, or as the psyche staging a revolt? Drop your case in the comments. If you enjoyed this dive, subscribe for more dark corridors of the 19th century. Until next time, keep your candles lit and your prefaces loaded.